Oh. Exactly like that. Welcome back to the channel, dudes. This is episode 2 on motor collection. GTR, motor, unicorn, block, something. We wanted to do a little bit of an interim video in regards to this motor, which you guys would have seen us collect in the last episode. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Because there's lots of little bits and pieces that need to be done before you just slap this in. It's not just go pay X amount of dollars for a ridiculously built motor and then slap it in. So there's a few little things that Dean has done in between now and the last video. So those include, these are the R35 coils. They've all been put in now, and Mickey Mouse. This line has been made from the back of the head, simply just drains down into the sump itself. There's a little bit of dicking around. Obviously that bracket there had to be made and tapped and put a gasket on and whatever else. Engine mounts are now on the side of it. These are, I don't know, they're, what brand are they? Tough Mounts.
Yeah, Tough.
Tough Mounts. If you don't know who Tough Mounts are, get out from under the rock, because everybody uses Tough Mounts in almost every application. Oil straight onto the side of this, and then some dash 10 fittings to relocate the actual oil filter. So it, 1, looks better, 2, is easier to service, and 3, it'll actually go out of the oil cooler. It'll actually go out of the oil filter into the oil cooler and then back up into here. What bracket is that? I have no idea.
PLP alternator bracket. What else did I do? I had to pull the balancer off to rotate the motor around to put the baffles in. There's 2 baffles in here, so when the cams are spinning, they don't throw oil out these fittings.
Oh yeah.
What, so they had to go.
What was the thing? What was the thing you found with those?
Well, the factory mounts. So I put them on in their factory position. Started to roll the motor over, and the cams are that big that the lobes are fouling on the.
Ah, yes, that's the
lobes were
I remember you saying that.
Bending the little windage trays that go on top, so I had to pack all them out and make them work.
Yep.
I put these fittings on here, that oil feed for the turbo, that oil return for the turbo.
Oh yeah, that's something I didn't cover actually, I didn't see that. So oil feed for the turbo, oil return for the turbo.
Block the water feed off because the Precision doesn't need water.
So that's probably motor stuff covered. Motor stuff covered. So now there is actually a lot of fiddling around with the intake manifold. So the intake manifold, as absolutely incredible as it is, as you can see, it's got water ports in the top of each one, here, 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 and then actually on the far side of that, if you can see in there, that back one behind it is also a water feed.
They're bleed valves, so that's what gets the water into the header tank and gets all the air out of the head.
Ah, yes, yeah. So on top of all of the stuff that you guys seen over there, we're now gonna make basically the whole water manifold on the underside of the intake. So it's stuff that you don't see, but it's necessary to talk about this, to actually see what goes on. Like, how many people do you know with a 1,000 horsepower GTR, but you don't actually see how to get there? It's not as simple as you buy that motor and slap it in. There is a shit ton of work fabricating, making stuff, Teflon braided lines, all that type of stuff to get to where you need to be. So today we're gonna make this up, and then yeah, anything else that needs kind of doing before we actually drop this motor in, then we go from there. So let's get it. Oh, by the way, the Sequential has been sitting on the bench for like 2 years now, and the towel is slowly starting to come off. And so now it's starting to get real. Yeah, boy.
Screw the weld on fitting into here, into there, sit this on here, position it exactly right. tack, tack, tack as best as possible. Undo it, take it off, flip it over, weld it right out.
Yeah.
Cut the end, put the sensor in the end. We got to put the Haltech sensor in the end for the water temp and water pressure. I'm running water pressure on this.
Yeah.
So that if the head lifts or anything, we know. Not that it will, but in case.
Are you sure?
Okay, what?
Have you checked the block between cylinders 3 and 4?
This one's firing. And then I've got to put a tapper sensor in for the little gauge on the dash.
Yeah.
So that the gauge on the dash actually works.
So that paints a way better picture than what I just said. Nice!
It's only a $700 throttle. Oh, great.
Oh.
Is this serious? It's just dead set smacking that hard out. I can swear I measured that last night. So that was going to work. There's no way in the world that'll work.
So before you do anything else like make a whole water manifold, make sure that it's going to clear the outlet on the water because as you can see it fouls. This has to go through there like that, except face the other way. So we're now going to chop this here and then make it work. Solutions. Measure once.
Cut 158 times.
Cut once, weld it, cut it again, re-weld it.
Then throw it in the bin.
So it now obviously just dips up underneath there. Underneath there. So comes along the top, goes straight across, dips up and comes through, and then comes out the front here.
We're going to put this dash 1 million on the
fuel rail.
On the fuel rail. Exactly, perfect. Got to get a mega weld on and weld that on there, and that'll go on there.
So weld on fitting to here, dash whatever the hell that is, 6 million.
I think it's 22 or something.
Yeah. And then that will just sit there nice, and then rubber hose comes, or like whatever line comes straight through to the radiator, which will be sitting about here somewhere. So good solution. All right, so now next kind of little crappy job to do is all of the wiring, as we mentioned before. So we've just laid it out completely, as you can see, completely on the floor. We're going to label it one by one, get rid of some of the stuff that doesn't need to be there. For example, the old turbo speed sensor can be ripped out. We don't have that anymore, and some other little bits and pieces. So let's get into that. so a little more on the wiring side of things. We've just ripped out everything that didn't need to be in the old loom. It's so easy to get like overwhelmed with wiring, but this used to run through the engine bay. It used to run out the back there, down here, and then to here. Obviously we're going to have the nicest engine bay we possibly can, so the only sensor that we need to get out of there is actually this one here, which is for wheel speed sensor. So that is the wheel speed sensor that has to come just out there and actually just into the back of that one just there. So normally that would all run along the front there, that whole loom, so it would look really ugly. So now what the idea is, we actually don't need any of that. That's all just redundant stuff. These two plugs here need to plug into these two plugs here. So once we peel this one back, this whole loom, this part, will actually run up in that quarter panel as like hugging the roof, so it won't ever be seen again. This part here is just sensors that Dean has put on the car previous. So they'll probably all get replaced because they're going to be different types of sensors. So just ignore all of that. This one here is what actually goes across to the other side of the car. So really simple. That's just all the injectors. These two here go to the back of the head, and then control like your coil packs and whatnot. And then you've got some like earths. That's about it really. So I have no idea about RBs at all. So I'm hoping that it actually goes under this brake line and then across the back, because I'm assuming that's where it goes. So I'm sure Dean will let me know when he comes in. So, this is the Sequential. This is an OS88 Sequential Gearbox. Dean has had it sitting on the bench here for a long time, and it's just been slowly of late, since we've been working on the GTR, just slowly the towel's just been getting creeped off a little bit more and a little bit more. Anyway, she's f***ing good to go now, and it's just the nicest thing ever. It is just so good. There's a little bit of wiring that goes in here. There's a sensor. It's like a 3-wire sensor, and that runs back into the ECU, just basically to tell you what gear you're in. And then there is a reverse lockout cable, which works like any other 6-speed. You've got to pull it up to go into whatever. And then obviously a sequential works as a sequential works. It's doing something at the moment. So that's how sequential works. Obviously just exactly like that. But the coolest thing ever, which is the thing I wanted to talk about, is this. This is that. Now to any other stance boy like me, you'd just go to We Are Likewise and you'd just buy a shift knob. Not sequential boys. This is a strain gauge gear knob. I didn't know existed until now. This here has a calibrated sensor in it, and you've got to put it in a particular direction as specified on the gear shifter itself. And there's sensors in here that then wire down the plug and then back to the ECU, so that when you mount it in the correct position and you back on the gear shifter, this talks to the ECU. And just wrap your head around this for 1 second, because this just blew my mind. It will change gears and cut power to the engine / do whatever it needs to do in accordance with how hard you have pulled or how fast you have pulled that shifter. Hard or fast? Hard or fast?
Both.
Fast.
But mainly hard.
Both. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please tell me if that is wrong. If you imagine what's going on in a drag car that's about to do an 8-second pass, and you hear it going down the street going, bah, 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 and they're just ripping back. That's why you see guys just absolutely ripping back on the shifter, because the harder they pull back or the faster they pull back, the faster this bad boy is going to just lock the f up and go. Dean's doing a bit of a prep work on this now, and then this is obviously just going to make it a bit nicer so that when we put it in the car, it just bolts in. Bolts in. Direct bolt in. It's a direct bolt in.
Heaps easier than welding.
Why does it still look like a 8-year-old did it?
You just wrap them all up with like concreters tape, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
The hose will run out of there and go down underneath the manifold. That one will go down there and down underneath the manifold.
Yeah.
The one underneath will go down to the radiator. That one there will go through the triangle, around, back through this hole and into the water.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So you won't even see it.
Alright, so that is it for this episode. We have made the ridiculous manifold, which is down here. That's still, I truly think that manifold is probably the nicest part of the car for me. When Dean pulled it out, I lost my shit. I was like, wow, that is something else. So manifold is done. Now we've got all of the wiring tucked up underneath this guard. What we've done is just saddled. We put some rivets all in this top guard here, yeah, 3, and then just popped it back up. So it looks really nice and neat now, and then that way there is nothing coming out of, well, the minimal that has to come out of that corner hole, and more importantly, nothing coming around here, which is how you get that nice, that really nice, sleek RB engine bay. And then Dean has just finished up this little piece, which is like the radiator overflow. And so 1, it gets it out of the way of everything else, and 2, it's the highest point in the car, so you can stick your funnel in there and it makes it a lot easier to bleed your system. So that will be painted black at a later date. For now, he literally just finished making it. He was just enjoying his work.
Looks nice.
Yeah, it does look nice. Apart from that, that is about it. We did go a bit of a run through on the sequential. We've just mocked that up to basically make our lives easier for when we chuck it in. Moving forward, the next episode will be fuel system. Engine in or fuel system. It'll be either engine in or fuel system. We will cross those bridges when we come to it. So anyway, make sure you like and subscribe and do all of that stupid stuff, because well, we're building a GTR now, we're not working on pieces of shit. So see you on the next one. Bye.
Ever since you shut the door on everything we knew, you're too late for.
Dean's just working on the power steering line there at the moment.
So I've already put on and now I'm putting on again.
Yes.
Is that for the video?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I have. It's fucking annoying.
That's Dean's life is putting shit on, and then I come around and say, no, we need to film it, so take it all off and start again.